Yeah, I'm one of those black people that took off a dashiki to wear St. Patrick's Day shirt, but it's after St. Patrick's Day, so maybe I'm not the same as them. Anyway, I bought this shirt $5 out of Five Below when I was teaching at this particular school. We had to all wear something for it. I mean, we did other holidays, so it wasn't just St. Patrick's Day. Anyway, it's like a national drinking day to me. It's like the only holiday where you get to really drink, or drinks are like really discounted. Anyway, that's not what I'm blogging about today. I wanted to talk about kind of my big realization in certain things. I'm now weighing whether, when I think of a story, what medium should I write it in? Now, my mediums that I've done things in have been comic books, novels, and film. Now, film and novels have two options. They have feature film or short film, and in books you have a full-out novel, or you have a short story. So really I have like 5 options, okay? And so I had to stop thinking of the most convenient and cheapest for me, and had to start thinking of the most lucrative for me. And when I think of a story, I don't limit myself towards any particular budget or genre. Sometimes I do think of how to tell the story in a comic book, which I've been thinking of a few times, but most of the time I don't think about that, right? Or think about it that way. But now I am, and I'm thinking of it because I need to make, money. And film was a medium that really wasn't, available to me. I don't know, when I made my last film, Gold Digger Killer, it went to Netflix, which was just starting out. And I cried that I lost my money and I didn't get my money back for it. And I used that excuse to stay out of film for close to 10 years, And I just didn't do it. And then after Get Out, I was like, man, people are buzzing and biting for horror. Maybe there's a chance that I could get a horror film sold, whether it is through, a big hit. I'm not talking about, selling the screenplay, although I've submitted screenplays. I was really thinking about, oh shoot, if I make this film, it will sell to a distributor and the distributor will put it out there. What happened with me in my last film, my distributor burned me. I had a distributor, and the distributor had a guarantee. I didn't even get half of my guarantee. I got close to 1/4, of my guarantee, which wasn't even half of my production budget. It was 1/5 of my production budget, so I got 1/8 of my guarantee and close to 1/5 of my production budget. So in essence, I lost all of my money. Now, the distributor had a deal with Warner Brothers, and the film made $250,000. I didn't get any royalties from that. Probably one of the film company's most successful films. If I ever see anybody with that company on their resume, we got a problem. I'm not working with them, but I'm actually speaking to them because I don't want to see them. I saw one of the executives, while this was happening, before I had gotten burned, and he took me in, I think he got me inside Chris Webber's party, and my wife and I, we went all the way inside. really nice looking women, but I'd rather get my royalty payment, you know? Anyway, now since Get Out, I took some money. I have been working some teaching money. I actually put a proposal together and got a couple of investors, which, you know, investors want to know how they're going to make their money. So you got to be able to show them that you can get distribution. And I was able to get distribution. It was a long road to getting it, but I was able to get it. Thank God. You know, movies are slated to come out 2019 around October. So we don't know. That's what we're working on. Anyway, what do you call it? That changed my mind. Now film is back to being an option for me. So I've been, you know, and actually it's the only medium that I really made any kind of money from. I mean, I sold out on all of my comic books, but for the price that I had to pay for illustrations, I didn't even make 1/5 of that money back, combined with the printing costs. So my comic books was a real bust, but I don't get mad at the comic books because the comic books were supposed to piggyback off of the film success. So as the film failed me financially, the comic books failed as well, because they were really a tie-in comic book, because it was a character from my movie. The movie was Gold Digger Killer, and the name of the comic book was Imani the Killer. All right? So books are what I got into, and that was a growing process. And as far as my books go, I haven't had a book to hit as hard as any of my films. My first film made 7 times its production budget. And when I sold it, you know, whatever I made it for, I'm not talking budgets, but it made 7 times its budget back. Gold Digger Killer, I think, maybe 10 times, if that's correct, maybe 10 times. I don't know. Actually, I do believe it could have made more than $250,000, right? I might have been 100 times, right? But it made a lot of money. And mind you, if I had a book that made $250,000, I would not be sitting in a Kia Soul. I'll tell you that much. I would be on set, making movies like I plan to do now. So now, with all of that, my books haven't failed. They're doing very well, but they're not enjoying the success of what a film makes. So that's, you know, it is what it is. So now I have ideas, and I'm wondering, do I, while this movie is waiting to come out and I see that it got distribution, I'm sort of nervous, but I'm not totally nervous that it's going to make money. I know it's a good film. I know it's going to connect with the market. I know it will be successful, but you really don't know until you make the money back. But I do know that I can get my film to the market, or I can get distribution that will help me get my film to the market. So the confidence of that is strong. Also, I know I have confidence that I'll get paid, right? That's the other thing that didn't happen to me. Not only did the movie come out, but I didn't get paid. So I have confidence this time that I'll be getting paid. So now I'm thinking, if I think of a story, which medium do I want to tell it in? Do I want to write the story as a book? And the beautiful thing about books is that I only have to pay for an editor. It is the cheapest medium for me, because I'm the writer to create in. So I'm going to be doing, you know, my books as I continue. You know, I'm writing my Harlem Shake series. I had a really good creative night last night, and woke up with the pen moving across the paper, you know. So later today, when I get home and I start typing, I've got a lot to write. Should be hopefully I say a 3,000 word day. That's my goal. If I can get up to that, I'm happy. Sometimes it goes over. Most of the time it goes under now. But if I can get to that, I'm happy. So that's one. But the thing I like about writing in books is not only is it the cheapest production-wise, it is also the cheapest to tell. So I only have to pay for an editor, and I typeset it and I upload it myself to market. And in my story, I don't have to worry about what I'm telling. Film limits my story because there's certain shots that I can't shoot in my films. So it's very hard to tell a story freely. Amount of people, the amount of scenes and sets, all that impacts my mind when I'm thinking of my stories that I'm going to produce. So anyway, when I'm thinking of stories and what medium I'm going to tell them in, all of those factors come into play. And I've got stories that I've already published. I'm like, you know what? It's time to write that into a screenplay. I have time to write, and I'm thinking, instead of focusing on more and more books, let me write it into a screenplay, and then I can pitch it and I can start working on it. Now, where do comic books fall in all of that? I've seen some, like I'm reading a couple of good comic books right now, and they're inspiring. I'm not finished them. I probably will do a review, so I'm not going to say their names, but one is by a writer, and they got a banging cover, and the illustrations on the inside are not as good as the cover. That's usually the case. Most of the time cover illustrators are better than, or the illustrations look different than the ones on the inside of the book. Sometimes. I remember Radical Comics used to have banging illustrations all the way through. Every page practically was a cover page. But that's not always the case. And this one has a big drop-off. So why do I say that? It's one of the top black comic books. And for it to have a drop-off like that, the drop-off isn't because the illustrator is not only not the same, but sometimes you get a less experienced illustrator. Illustrator is not that expensive, and that lowers your cost over your whole book. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, oh man, he's using or she's using an illustrator that isn't that expensive. Okay, and I don't know what they're charging, but just looking at the illustrational work, I'm like, hey, you're not paying a lot for that. You're not paying as much as you pay for the cover and the other stuff. The other comic book I'm looking at is written by a team, illustration and writer team. That's the perfect one, because if you can get a really good illustrator and you don't have to pay for the illustrations as much, maybe they factor it in, but at the end of the day, you can print the book and you can make a quarter on it. Whereas having to pay for a book, just to give you an example, illustrators on the low end of good, real experienced illustrators are like $100 a page. And that's illustrating, that's sketching, drawing, inking, coloring, and lettering. So that they do that for $100. That's a lot. Now, new illustrators, you can get them online for $5 a page. That's really good, but you're not going to get them to do 100 pages for you. So you can put that out of your mind. That's a professional illustrator. And if they do 100 pages for you, it's not going to take 100 days. It's going to be a lot longer than that because they're not working full time. So there's some type of exchanges, some type of drop off. Anyway, I like the books that I'm reading enough to want to get back into it. One of the dudes sells their books for $10 for a 26-page, 30-page floppy comic book. That's a lot. In the stores, those go for $3.99 to $5, and I have been selling mine for like $5. But $10, hey, you gotta make your money. It's a good book. People like it. You charge whatever the heck you want to charge. The other book is a more of a graphic novel. It's thicker. It's 100-page, and they charge $20, which is market. Black Mass charges $10 for theirs. Some of the Marvel ones, they go from 15 to 20. So 20 is not a bad price. That's a good price. So anyway, that's about it, guys. I talked too much. 15 minutes is up. Thank you, and look forward to hearing from you. Peace.